Have you played the PC port of The Last of Us Part 1? Well, you may not want to, because apparently there are horrible optimization and performance issues on PC. Now, this launched about 1 day ago on Steam. We have The Last of Us Part 1, it's a PC port, and the reviews are mostly negative, with, at the time of me making this video, a 33% positive review. The release date was yesterday, March 28th, and it is looking very bad for The Last of Us Part 1, at least on PC. One of the biggest issues right now is crashing, as this person said. 6 hours of gameplay, crashed 14 times, crashes every 20 minutes, badly optimized, game looks great, just needs to be better optimized, game crashes a lot, unplayable, and that's with a 3080 Ti and a 5900X. And then, this one was really, really funny, honestly. Naughty Dog have discovered an incredible strategy here. Goes something like this. Step 1, release a technological disaster of a game after drumming up hype and pre-orders. Step 2, build shaders in the main menu to run up the clock. Step 3, victim's refund window has almost expired by the time they get in game and realize. Step 4, profit. So another argument that people have had about this is that there's apparently a thing where it builds shaders in the main menu the first time you come in, and it could take up to an hour on some hardware. But your refund window on Steam is only 2 hours, so by the time you get to play the game, you actually only get 1 hour of testing the game before you get to make your decision on whether or not to refund. So that is an interesting argument that that person makes. But it's not just the players who have these sentiments, it's even the reviewers on popular websites, and we'll look at Twitter as well. So we have an article here from Kotaku. Freezes, game is constantly crashing to desktop for many users, horrible performance, stutters and stuff like that, mouse stutters. Apparently using keyboard and mouse results in stutters. Using a gamepad removes this. So even them, they're pointing out tons of issues with the games and what other people are saying about it. They're writing about it. A lot of people are writing about how bad this port is. And here we have an article from GameSpot. The Last of Us Part 1 PC and Steam Deck port is getting torn apart. More than 10,000 Steam reviews, mostly negative. And they have this link to the Twitter post from Naughty Dog, the developer of The Last of Us. And they said, The Last of Us Part 1 PC players, we've heard your concerns. Our team is actively investigating multiple issues you've reported. We will continue to update you, but our team is prioritizing updates and will address issues in upcoming patches. We have a similar article from IGN, getting slammed on Steam, mostly negative, crashes every 20 minutes, all these quotes. They quote the same Twitter post again. We're seeing the same kind of negative press over on Eurogamer. The Last of Us Part 1's long-awaited PC port isn't going down well on Steam. And over on PCWorld.com, Sony's The Last of Us PC port is an utter disaster at launch, with links to negative reviews on Steam, literally the exact same ones that I just read to you. Then when you head over to Twitter, we see a lot of negativity. Last of Us Part 1 on PC is currently sitting at 33%, mostly negative on Steam, with widespread reports of poor performance / optimization, constant crashing, keyboard mouse, responsiveness issues, and more. With this image, I would avoid Last of Us Part 1 on PC right now until it's fixed. Lots of reports of crashes, and 60+% of reviews on Steam are mostly negative. It also takes an hour to build the shaders on the Steam Deck, and runs at under 30 FPS even on low / medium settings, as it's not verified. Getting slammed on Steam over performance issues and crashes. And then we have this person saying, The Last of Us Part 1 on PC seems to be using DirectX 11 on 12, the same mechanism that's responsible for the shoddy CPU performance of The Witcher 3 remaster in DirectX 12, and the same mechanism that Microsoft recommends against when trying to optimize your game for performance. Now, I don't know if this is actually true. We take a look at these pictures, but if this technical stuff is true, I'm like, this thing's a little off center. There we go. Okay, if this technical stuff is true, then maybe that's true, and maybe that's what's causing the issue. But regardless of what the cause of the issue is, it's still, the end result is the same. The Last of Us Part 1 on PC is a total disaster. Once again, we have another issue with game developers porting a game over to PC and not even like testing it, or no, they had to have known, honestly. There's no way in these scenarios that they don't know that it plays horribly. I think they just run out of budget, they run out of time, they hit some deadline, and some executive, some CEO, somebody at the top who doesn't really care and just like cares about stock prices or something like that. Those are usually the people who just push it out the gate, even though it's a complete and total disaster. Because if anyone tested this on any PC, basically, it's going to play terribly. Now, maybe if you play it specifically with a 4090 and the absolute best hardware known to man, maybe that would be the case. Maybe at their studio, the only PCs they have are like the most expensive $5,000 PCs, and they're like, it works fine on all these, and they didn't test it. But I struggle to believe that they didn't have some kind of internal testing, tested this on multiple different PCs, saw that it played horribly, saw that the build issues with maybe they didn't test Steam Deck, but I feel like that's a little unlikely, but maybe. But you'd at least test it on multiple different PCs and realize that your game is not playing well. But this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened many times with many games. This has even happened on games where it's not a PC port. There's a lot of times nowadays where developers have deadlines, they have budgets, they have games that by the time they're done, they still play terribly, and they have to release the game like total garbage in order to try to get money, and then use that money to keep paying people in order to fix the bugs retroactively. Or maybe they never fix the bugs, or maybe they had the budget, but it's just some executive or some CFO or CEO or whatever makes the decision that this needs to come out before Q1, so that way our Q1 results look good, our stock prices go up. That happens a lot with the corporations. Now, some companies do not have that excuse, because sometimes these games get released from businesses that are not publicly traded companies, and those people pretty much don't have an excuse other than maybe just running out of budget. With all that in mind, though, there's one other thing I do want to show you real fast, which is over on the Steam page. There's the system requirements, and this isn't the first time that I've seen something like this. So the system requirements say that you only need a GTX 1050 Ti as the minimum requirements, and an i7 4700K. So with those system requirements, I would assume that you would get even worse performance. The recommended is to have a 2070 Super or an RTX 3060, something like that, and to have an i7 8700. Now, people who have that hardware are still having issues. Now, the crashes I think will happen regardless of hardware, but these people are having issues with performance, like low FPS and stuff, depending on the hardware. So this happens a lot, I see, where you'll go into a game and you have bad performance when you have above recommended specs, and then the minimum specs are things that are just unbelievable. So I don't know that this is necessarily accurate, but yeah, so they actually tell you that this bad hardware is good enough when even the good hardware is not good enough. But sometimes that can just be an issue with the game has some weird problem where no matter what hardware you use, it's just screwed over, and then it's going to be pretty consistently bad across the board. I have not been able to test that, obviously. I only have one PC. I haven't bought this yet. I don't really have time to cover this game other than in this video. But yeah, basically the TLDR is The Last of Us Part 1, the PC port, and the Steam Deck version are a complete and total disaster. I would highly recommend waiting to buy them until these issues get resolved, if they ever do. Hopefully they do get resolved in later patches, sometime in the next few weeks, maybe in the next month or two, and then maybe it'll be ready for you to actually buy it. But that's all for this news update. Beware of The Last of Us Part 1 on PC. I'm Kibbles, and thanks for watching.